your hand if you've had a job. Kind of? Okay, kind of. Okay, how old were you when you got your first job?
17.
17. Okay, I was 16. So now imagine if you started working when you were 5. Kind of crazy, right? Okay, according to the International Labor Organization, today throughout the world, around 215 million children work, many full-time. They do not get to go to school and have little or no time to play. Many do not receive proper nutrition or care, and they are derived the chance to be children. More than half of them are exposed to the worst forms of child labor, such as work in hazardous environments, slavery, or many other forms. So, today I'm going to be talking about child labor a little bit. I had to read this book called In the Sea There Are Crocodiles by Fabio Guetta, and the issue of child labor was really interested me, and like it talked about in the quote, like children who have to work when they're young, like they lose their childhood, and I can kind of relate because like they have to grow up really fast, and I grew up really fast because of my life situations. My parents got divorced, and my mom had breast cancer and stuff like that, so it's kind of how I can relate to the topic. Today I'm going to talk about child labor, and hopefully by the end y'all will learn some stuff about it, and just make you more aware of what's going on in the world. So first, I'm going to talk about the problem with child labor. I'm going to talk about what it is, how it affects children, and how it compares to the United States. And then I'm going to talk about the solution to it, just a little bit of how people can work with the government to strengthen child labor laws and work with families and stuff. So first, the problem is, obviously there's a lot of child labor going on, 215 million children between the ages of 5 and 17. Flip this over real fast. So first, we're going to define what child labor is, and also according to the International Labor Organization, it's work that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous or harmful to children or interferes with their school. And in this book, the main character is a boy that his mom sneaks him across the border from Afghanistan to Pakistan, and leaves him and goes back to, he has younger siblings, and he's only 10 years old, and so he has to figure out how to get a job and how to basically survive. And so he didn't get to go to school. He didn't get the opportunity to get a good education, and he didn't have time to play with his friends or anything. So that's kind of how it affects kids. They don't get to go to school, and he got to go back to school later in his life, but it wasn't from the time he was 10 until he was 18. He didn't get to go to school. And then just comparing this to the United States, obviously a long time ago, I don't remember when, we had lots of issues with child labor, children working in factories and stuff, and thankfully we have laws now that protect our kids. There's a law, according to the United States Department of Labor, at least, you have to be at least 14 years old to be employed, and you also, there are certain limits of how many hours you can work if you're a minor under the age of 16. So it's crazy how it compares to the United States. We may still have problems here. It did say online that we still have child labor issues in the United States, but it's nothing compared to, this book is set in the Middle East, so it's a lot different, and so it just makes you realize how blessed we are here, even though we may still have some problems. This book, what blew me away about this book is it's really current. It's only a couple years old, and it's true. It's a little bit he doesn't remember all the details of his life, but very true what happened to him. And so now that I've told you a little bit about the problem of child labor, I'm going to move to the solution. First, I did some research because I wasn't really sure what the solution was. I found an organization called UNICEF, which I heard about in high school, but it stands for the United Nations Children's Fund. And on their website it says they work in over 190 countries with development partners, governments, and NGOs on all aspects of anti-trafficking responses, including prevention, protection, and prosecution. And they do a lot of things, but just specifically working with children that are in child labor or kind of child trafficking, they go together hand in hand. They work with families, parents, financially to provide for them so that the children don't have to work. And they also, second thing they do, I'm trying to remember, they work with those governments to strengthen the laws so that children don't have to work, or not children, they work to strengthen the laws so that that it's not going on. Because in this book there were a lot of corrupt, like police officers and officials that weren't doing anything to stop it, and they just let it go on. So those are just two small things that we can do to work on it. Obviously, it's not a problem that's going to be fixed quickly. It's going to take time, but I believe that it can get better if people are aware of it. So, in conclusion, I told you about the problem of child labor, what it is, how it affects children, and compared it to the U.S. And I also told you about some solutions to it, working with the government and providing financially for families. So I hope that y'all learned something about child labor, and hopefully you're more aware of it.